Picture someone named Maria. She's got $50,000 in credit card debt at 27% interest every single month before she spends a dollar on rent, groceries, or anything else. More than $1,000 just evaporates straight into interest. She could cancel every subscription she owns, skip every coffee for a year, bring her own lunch every single day, and it still wouldn't move the needle in any meaningful way. That's not a spending problem. That's an interest rate problem, and until you fix that, nothing else matters, no matter how disciplined you get about the small stuff. And Maria's story isn't rare right now, not even close. Credit card delinquencies just hit their highest level in 15 years. Not since the 2008 financial crisis have this many people fallen behind on their payments. So if this sounds like your life right now, you're not broken, and you're definitely not alone. I've watched people eliminate debt exactly like Maria's over and over using 6 proven steps. And the most important one has nothing to do with cutting costs. Let's jump in. Step 1. Slow down your debt. Let's rethink the problem here. You don't actually have a debt problem. You have an interest rate problem. And until you fix that, nothing else you do is going to matter. Remember, at 27% interest, $50,000 in debt is costing over $1,000 a month in interest alone. That money disappears before a single dollar even touches the balance. The house is on fire, and right now we need to stop pouring gas on it. There's a better move that changes the game entirely. We're going to try to lower the interest rate because at a lower rate, every dollar you pay works harder. Call your credit card company and ask for a lower APR. That 5-minute call could save thousands of dollars over the life of the loan. You can say something simple like, "I've been a customer for 7 years, and I'd like to request a lower interest rate on my account." That's it. Simple and direct. While you're on the phone, ask if they offer any hardship programs. If you're genuinely stretched thin, some lenders will work with you on a more manageable payment structure, sometimes even pausing interest for a stretch. Always ask one follow-up question before you agree to anything. Is this going to affect my total amount owed? You want the relief without any hidden catch that leaves you worse off down the road. And if you qualify, look into a 0% introductory APR balance transfer. A lot of people treat that like a gimmick instead of a real tool for paying off debt systematically. Just know that clock is running, and once the promotional period ends, whatever balance is left jumps back up to a normal rate, so it only helps if you're disciplined about paying it down while it's actually at 0. If you have high interest debt, focus on the rate first, and if it works, you've just skipped ahead of most people who never even try. Now that we've slowed the bleeding, here's the next step, and you cannot skip it no matter how scary it feels. Step 2. Face your actual numbers. After coaching thousands of people on their money, the ones who carry the most debt always have one thing in common. They don't know their numbers, they don't know how much they owe, they don't know their interest rate, and they definitely don't know the month and year they'll be debt-free. That's because they'd rather not look. When a statement arrives, they toss it aside, tell themselves they'll deal with it later. Avoiding your numbers gives you a moment of relief, and when you're in debt, that relief can feel like the only thing you actually control. But it means you're navigating your entire financial life in a fog, and if you don't know your numbers, you cannot get out of debt effectively. That fog keeps you thinking about debt in the abstract, and that's exactly what credit card companies want, because time is on their side. The longer you stay in that fog, the more you pay in fees. The moment you actually write your numbers down and see them all in one place, something clicks. It's scary because it means taking ownership, but I don't care if that scares you. I'm here to help you build a life you actually want, and that takes walking through the fire and confronting what you've been avoiding, because I want you making decisions based on math, not just your feelings. So here's what you do. Grab a piece of paper or open a spreadsheet if that's more your speed, and list every debt you have. Credit cards, student loans, car loans, personal loans, mortgage, all of it, no exceptions. Next to each one, write 3 things: the total balance, the interest rate, and the minimum monthly payment. Then write down your total monthly take-home pay, 4 numbers total. That's your map. Once Maria sat down and actually built that map for the first time, she saw something she'd never seen clearly before in her life. Exactly which of her debts was actually costing her the most, and it wasn't the one she assumed. Most people never take the time to get all their information in one place like this. They just start randomly paying off whatever feels most urgent that month, which is exactly why it's been so hard for them to make real progress. Step 3. Crush the first debt. Treating all your debt the same is an expensive mistake. $50,000 in credit card debt at 27% is a completely different problem than $50,000 in student loans at 4%, even though the balance looks identical on paper. That credit card is costing over $1,000 every single month in interest. The student loan at 4% only costs $167 a month. Same balance, but the interest rate makes all the difference, and that difference costs more than $10,000 a year. So yes, you need to address all your debt eventually, but don't just randomly throw money at random balances because it feels productive. Be strategic about it. The order you attack your debts in determines how fast you actually get free, sometimes by years. From now on, you're paying off debt based on math, not on which bill feels most urgent that week. Look at that list you just built. Find the debt with the single highest interest rate. That's your target, full stop. Every extra dollar you have goes toward that one debt, while you pay only the required minimums on everything else. I guarantee you're not currently doing that, because if you were, you'd already have this exact plan running. Once that first debt is completely gone, you take everything you were paying toward it, every dollar, and roll it straight into the debt with the next highest rate. Your payments stack. They accelerate. You keep going until it's all gone. This is called the Avalanche method, and mathematically, it saves you the most money over time out of any strategy out there. There's another approach called the snowball method, where you start with the smallest balance instead, regardless of interest rate, and work your way up. That one can feel more motivating psychologically, since you get quick wins early, so it's worth knowing both and choosing whichever one you'll actually stick with. If your only goal is saving the most money possible, Avalanche wins every time, no contest. If you've followed the first 3 steps, you've already made moves that could save thousands of dollars. Your system is set up, your money is moving with a plan behind it. What comes next is where you could lose everything you just built, so keep going. 4. Stop suffering for no reason. You don't need to suffer, and honestly, you can't suffer your way out of debt anyway. You've tried it, you told yourself, this is the month I finally get serious, I'm doing a no-spend November. Did it work? No, because you were approaching it through restriction, through willpower, and that doesn't last. You're not changing the actual habits that got you here in the first place. There's a limit to how much you can cut, and past a certain point, you simply stop following the plan entirely. But there is no limit on what you can earn. And here's something worth sitting with, because it changes how you should feel about all of this. A lot of the debt people are carrying right now isn't from reckless spending at all. More than half of all revolving credit card balances today exist to cover essentials, groceries, rent, utilities, medical bills, not vacations or new phones or anything glamorous. So if that's you, this isn't a character flaw, and it's not a lack of discipline. It's math working against people who are just trying to survive rising costs, which is exactly why the fix isn't more restriction, it's offense. Instead of chasing $3 decisions like skipping your morning coffee, go after $30,000 decisions instead. Start with housing. It's genuinely possible to negotiate your rent, and rents have actually come down in a lot of cities across the country recently. Most people never even think to try, let alone actually pick up the phone and ask. One successful rent negotiation can free up hundreds of dollars a month that you redirect straight to your debt. Same logic applies to transportation. If a household that's deep in debt is carrying 2 or 3 cars, that's genuinely worth a hard look. I've sat across from couples who are drowning in credit card debt while still making payments on some oversized truck they barely need for their actual daily life, insisting it's essential when it's really just a habit they haven't questioned yet. It's going to be uncomfortable to make that call and downsize to 1 car for a while. That's exactly the energy this requires. This isn't supposed to be comfortable. You got into this situation gradually, over months or years, and getting out of it aggressively is going to require some real temporary discomfort along the way. Finally, reframe the whole conversation from saving to earning. You might scrape together a few $1,000s a year in savings, and if you're in credit card debt, you absolutely should chase that. But you might also be able to negotiate a raise worth thousands more at work, and that lets you attack this debt from a completely different angle, one with no real ceiling on it. Pick one of these moves, just one, and make it happen this month, because that's how you move the needle in a real, meaningful way instead of nibbling at the edges. You now have a strategy and a way to fuel it. But if you're relying purely on yourself to execute this perfectly every single month, it probably won't last, no matter how motivated you feel right now. Step 5. Solve the problem once, not every month. I don't like solving the same problem over and over, and honestly, neither should you. Think about what a month of manual money management actually looks like. How much goes to debt this month? How much should I save? Did I remember to pay that bill on Friday? If you get sick, if you're traveling, if one week gets stressful for any reason, a plan built entirely on willpower breaks down fast. The fix isn't becoming some kind of financial hero who never slips. The fix is taking willpower out of the equation completely. Automate your payments so you make the decision exactly once, and then it just runs month after month without you having to think about it again. Before your paycheck even arrives, set up your debt payoff payment to automatically pull toward your highest interest debt. Before you ever see that money sitting in your checking account tempting you to spend it elsewhere, set it up once, then let the plan run itself in the background, checking in maybe once a year to adjust it if your income or your debts change. That's it. The decision gets made a single time, and then your future self doesn't have to rely on willpower at all. If you've made it this far and you're serious about following Maria's path out of debt, hit subscribe right now because there's a lot more coming on exactly how to build this out step by step, and you don't want to miss the rest of it, step 6, and this is the one that determines whether any of it actually sticks. Prepare yourself for success. You can do everything we just talked about, the calls, the map, the Avalanche, the automation, and get completely out of debt. But 6 months later, you might find yourself right back in it. That happens constantly, and it's actually worse the second time around, because now you know exactly how hard you worked to get out in the first place, and falling back in after all that effort stings in a way the first time never did. Nearly half of Americans right now believe they'll carry credit card debt for their entire lives, and almost 2 out of 5 expect their debt to actually grow even more by the end of this year. Sit with that for a second. That is exactly the cycle we're breaking here today, not just getting to zero once, but actually staying there for good this time. The moment your balance hits zero is your chance to say, I am never going back, and actually mean it. It's tempting to see that zero and slide right back into old spending habits since the pressure is finally gone. So before you get there, set a few rules for yourself in advance. First, take every single dollar that was going toward that debt, whether it was $200 a month or $2,000, and redirect all of it straight into an emergency fund. A small celebration dinner? Sure. Go enjoy that. You earned it. But we are not sliding back into the old patterns just because the number hit zero. Your target is 6 to 12 months of essential living expenses sitting in that account. Think about what that actually means for your life. Even if you lose your job tomorrow, it's not a crisis anymore. You've got real time to figure out your next move without panic setting in. Once that emergency fund is fully funded, redirect most of that freed up money toward investments instead. Increase your 401k contributions, especially if your employer offers any kind of match, since that's essentially free money you'd otherwise be leaving on the table. Max out a Roth IRA if you're eligible. Open a taxable brokerage account. Let your money start compounding and growing for you around the clock, and that's how real wealth actually gets built. Not by letting money slip through your fingers every month, but by thinking 1 year, 5 years, 10 years ahead of where you are right now. So here's where Maria ends up, $50,000 in debt, all the way down to zero, and now she's asking herself a completely different question than the one that used to keep her up at night. What does her life actually look like now that she's free? She can travel without doing math in her head the whole trip. She can save for a down payment on a place of her own. She can be more generous with the people she loves, without wondering if she can actually afford it. That's the real finish line here. Not just hitting zero on a balance, but deciding what you actually build from that point forward. You've spent months, maybe years, in restriction mode, watching every dollar disappear into interest before it ever did anything for you. It's time to shed that way of thinking completely. So tell me honestly, which step are you on right now, 1 through 6? Drop it in the comments below. I genuinely want to know exactly where you're starting from today. If this gave you a real plan instead of just more guilt about your situation, hit subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. And if you know someone right now who's drowning in debt and needs to hear this today, send it to them right now. It might be exactly the push they need to finally make that first call.